the voter and its turnouts in Laredo, and he said, we have a problem, and basically it's what the majority of Laredo believes.
Yeah, we were trying to establish a trend, and we actually just finished our third survey. I'll be sharing that information with you probably by next week.
Sure.
We want to see the trends, what people think about, see how they see Laredo, where they see the problems, where they see our growth, where it's going. So I got a lot of that information, but that time I was coming in as a academician, as
Sure.
a researcher, and it was wonderful. I appreciate you inviting me. Today I'm here as a candidate.
Sure.
And as everybody knows, Frank Castillo wears a lot of different hats. We go and do things with juvenile justice. I've worked for criminal justice. I've worked for the city of Laredo Airport Administration. I've worked with the Diocese of Laredo. I've worked for TAMIU, and I've done it because I could do it. I was able to retire from the state. And the one thing about retiring from the state, once you have your benefits, you can actually do whatever you want.
Sure.
And I dedicated my time, and I have been dedicating our lives to help the community, which is what I went to school for with my master's in public administration. That's what I've been doing. So everything I'm offering to you, to the campaign, to our campaign, is really just to improve Laredo. And so with that in mind, because I did say I wear different hats, I wanted to give you a gift that maybe you can establish now in the future for your program. I'm giving you one of my official
Thank you.
campaign
It's a great gesture.
caps, because you've been very kind. And
I'll put it right here.
yes, sir. Thank you. And I've noticed how well that you greet your guests and you talk to them and you explore what they're thinking and saying, which is what this venue does. It gives us an opportunity to come and speak about our campaigns and what we want to do to help Laredo.
Sure. And, we've talked in the past and we've become friends and so on and so forth. And we discuss a lot of things, and we've touched base on a lot of different ideas.
Topics. Yeah.
And later on, when you had come in here, we were talking about that. Then later on, you told me, you know what, Paul, I'm going to run. And the same question I asked you then is the question I'm going to ask you now. Why?
Yes, of course. That's the basic question any and every candidate should be getting. And my answer to you is because I care. I care for how we've been operating our city. This didn't just start now. It started back when I was growing up in my neighborhood, which is the Farias neighborhood, Cantarranas neighborhood. A lot of people have different, those two terms primarily.
Cantarranas.
Yes. And of course, back then, and even if you go right now to Google Maps, you see all the different barrio names, because that was the way we would see a barrio. It wasn't anything negative. It was, in fact, a neighborhood. It was just a little translation from English to Spanish, Spanish to English, and it was a neighborhood. And so I identify a lot with that because I saw the injustice. I saw the injustice of having a very dictatorial mayor running city government, county government, the school districts, and that to me was very impressionable. And so I couldn't do anything about it. I was really too young. I didn't know what I could or couldn't do. But I'm sure people stood up to that.
Sure.
And so in that same idea, that same trend, I think that I got that original feeling to contest things, to question things, because I saw the injustice. And for me, it was simply my parents decided to say, well, we can't make a living here. We're not connected. We're not connected to City Hall.
And that is the consensus of a lot of people even now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to interject. I flew in from doing a seminar, and I flew in. One of the guys said, "Hey, how you doing, Prof?" And this and then I shook his hand, and he goes, "Finally, I'm working here in TSBC. You know the
Texas Hall?
no. The guys that are in the airport checking you out, the security. What is it?
TSA.
TSA. And he goes, I can't get a job anywhere else. If I don't have this name and I don't have that name, this way you can't get a job here. And I said, and I looked at him and he goes, In a way, you can, but at least you're working, you're moving forward, and you got this job. So that is what happens in Laredo. It's who you know and stuff like this. And people say it's who you know. No, it's who knows you that counts. And you have to make it for that way. You have to say, you know what, I'm so and so, and this is here. But I understand the rationale behind it, though. And many people do understand in Laredo, they always call the patron system. And for the guys out of Laredo, the patron system means the old good old boy system. And the patron system broke up. Before it was just one, maybe two. You know, you had one in the school districts, and then you had Pepe Martin, the mayor. And you had Raymond as well. And if you didn't do one of those three guys, then all of a
You were
sudden
out.
you were out. And the latter one that stayed behind was Trevino.
Sure.
And either you had to basically go kiss his ring hand, and you might have get a job, or your kid got his job, or what have you. And those were the realities. But when everything splintered, there was not one. Now there's like 20. And and just a city, and they're all the little departments has their little de facto mob boss sitting down in them, and we have to. I don't care who we put in there, whether it's you or who we put in there. If those directors are not controlled or not changed, we're going to have the same thing going over and over and over.
What I notice about having to leave Laredo just so my family, our family, my parents' family, to be able to sustain a living, it happened to many families. They would go
Sure.
to the Midwest. They would go to the steel factories, the car factories.
Sure.
My parents take us to farm work, migrant labor. So I got to see a lot of things that other communities were doing where that corruption was not present. And that kind of invited me to wonder what's going on. So the only way I could do this and get out of this terrible constraints of your livelihood was to become educated. And so, yes, my parents instilled in us to educate ourselves, learn, listen, and I was able to get a very good job with state government. And so they provided for me, provided for my family. I was able to help others in criminal justice. I mean, when people talk about helping the community and protecting the community, we were doing that as parole officers. We were in charge of individuals and trying to protect the community from them doing other things that are harmful. And so I saw the need, and I continue to keep it in the back of my mind because my major was political science. It is political science. And when I got my master's in public administration, I said, well, now I know how government operates, including city government. Now I need to figure out what's the theory behind it. Why do we do things a certain way? And I find out that, well, actually, we don't really apply theory to our government. We're lacking in that. And come back to Laredo, come back to city government. I see a need to do how city government's operating. I'm not saying those people who are working there are bad people. I'm just saying I think we need to have more skill and more training for them. Because, I mean, if we're going to throw away the baby with the baby water, then that's not going to work because you're basically going to be left with a void. These people have those kingdoms that you suggested in their departments because they have the experience and the know-how. And they're not sharing.
I don't know
not
if,
sharing
I don't know
that
if it's really
information.
experience, yes, being there. But know-how, it's a different story. But that can be contested. But folks out there, if you guys are interested in asking questions, the number's going to be up there. And also, don't forget our app. It's called Border Indie. Will pop up in there. Download it because you can hear it on the side. And it's a very good way to later on you can go back to it. And on our shows will be uploaded up to our YouTube channel, which is, you see it under Buitrón Academy. So they're all up there. That's the only channel that we have at the time. Later on, we'll divide it.
No,
But going back
You're
to,
doing great, and I appreciate again the invitation. Because I do want to talk about the important things that happen right now
Sure.
in District 6 and City Council. Essentially, what we have over 12 candidates running.
Sure.
We all want this position. We all feel that we can represent the community better. But no one's talking about their platform. No one's telling us what they want to do Well, I have an idea, and I have plans, and I have a platform, and I want to discuss that with you
Sure,
today.
share it.
The first one is, of course, how do we bring, and people like to throw those buzzwords out, we're going to bring accountability to the people.
Or transparency.
And transparency, what does that all mean? Well, it means basically that they're going to do whatever they can when they get in there. And similarly, yes, I'm going to be one of essentially 8 councilmen and one more, which is the mayor. And I'm going to have to try to convince those other 4 to vote with my ideas if we want to implement it citywide. But in the meantime, if we don't want to implement it citywide, I have to do something for the district. And that is where I'm going to be coming in with those participatory councils that I believe in, I do, and I have worked with those through state government. It's really bringing those town hall meetings to a little bit higher level where we actually engage the community representatives. They can come in and willingly speak, and we be holding those council meetings, participatory council meetings every 3 or 4 months, depending on our schedule and what the group would like to do. So you'd be welcome to go and suggest what you're thinking if you live in District 6, right? Or maybe even those that are outside, well, as long as they identify themselves, I think we can do a good nucleus of bringing the issues that are important to the community. I don't want that community to be left out because I don't believe in that form of government. They have to be. We have to be inclusive. We have to get those community members, neighborhood activists, whatever you call it. And then, I'm sorry, I know you want to say some things, but
No,
I have so many things I want to talk
I understand.
about.
I agree with that, but you also have to get the people that are investing in that neighborhood. Person might live in the Heights, and he has his business in District 6. So his concern is District 6 too, how District 6 is
This
going.
is the other aspect of being more inclusive and being more accountable, is I want to have a participatory council for business leaders. And so we'd have a distinction because I think there are different values that we share and they have different ideas about how to improve our community. And so I need that input. I need that input to get going with the plan of how do we transform our government into a more clean and open government where we don't have FBI coming in and checking us and telling us there's something wrong here. I need to get all your computers out and your file
Sure.
cabinet. We need to change that culture that we have in city government. So I'm there and I'm hoping to do that. One other thing that's going to require convincing 5 other councilmen is I want to establish an office of public integrity. Those offices are already established in other governments. UT Austin, for example, has their own office of public integrity.
You're talking the universities.
At the university level, they have it in city government, I believe. The Houston area has several of them established in their municipalities. What I'm looking at is why should it have a very big problem to get information? And why cannot the own employees be covered and under the Whistleblower Act to come up and say, hey, I think this is wrong, we're doing things wrong. And so that Office of Public Integrity would be a conduit to get information from not only employees, but from the community. Why do we always have to address directly to the city council when we can have an office actually advocate, an advocacy office for the community where I don't have to take so much time from work just to go speak. The only people who I see speaking sometimes get carried away, they get emotional, they get kicked out. I don't know if that's what we really need. I mean, it's good, but at the end of the day, what was the result? What was the result? The Office of Public Integrity will give us the results that we want. And so that is very important part of my platform. Office of Public Integrity, Participatory Council for Businesses, Participatory Council for the Community. Those are just 3 of them that I have.
So here's my question.
Yes.
The city employees right now, they're not protected under the Whistleblowers Act?
Yes, they are. They are. They definitely are.
So then why don't Why do we need that? What's your rationale behind that?
Well, do they actually use it, and do they know? Are they educated enough? Are they being informed that you can actually utilize it? That Office of Public Integrity would give them that knowledge, because I'm not sure too many employers go out and actually tell you you are protected under this. We have other federal agencies that are involved, Equal Employment Opportunity Agency, Commission, all those. I mean, they have to be constantly trained, constantly informed, and that's just for the employees, Paul. Again,
No,
the
you're
public, and so some of them, it's all internal. A lot of, if I'm not going to be able to regulate myself, you think somebody else is going to be able to do it for me? We have to teach our own city councilmen, hey, this is the right way we can do things. And we have to start somewhere, because we don't have anything right now. We have it as to form, but we don't implement it. And I remember one incident, I'll tell you what it was. I think it happened under Mr. Olivares' tenure as city manager.
Okay.
He was instructed to send a letter to all employees to go ahead and realize that during the FBI investigation, I believe, that we want to know if there's anything going on wrong in their department. And to my knowledge, it was never done. It was never done. I could be wrong, but I guess I don't have access to internal memorandum. But the thing that I do know is I don't think it happened, because otherwise they would have come out and said, because they kept asking him, did you send a letter? Did you send a letter? And I don't know, he was able to pretty much not even answer. And if I remember correctly, that's what I'm talking about. Those kind of things that employers have so much power, because again, the legislature does give them the law that says right to work law. In other words, the employee can be hired and fired at will. And so those are the kind of things that, while we're not going to oppose the law, we just want to make sure the employees are well informed.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting.
Yes,
That's
you
interesting.
should. It is, and it's very important, not only at the city level, of course, the county level, state government level, which is where I get most of my training from, and I recall all these things too. And I wonder, well, where is that office that I can actually go file a questionnaire or a question regarding something that's going on without hurting any councilman's feeling, without hurting any department head's feeling that somebody's questioning me. You have to have that ability that the community goes and speaks openly, and doesn't have to be in city council.
I understand.
Well,
I understand. And yeah.
Think about it. I mean, that's not the only thing that Frank Castillo is going to bring to the table, because I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up. One of the first items I'm going to do once hopefully we get selected as city councilman, we're going to be spoken for the people, the working class. Because I really feel that we don't actually have a representative that actually speaks to those people who work daily, who go pay their taxes daily, who go and maybe have themselves and their spouse working, and perhaps even a second or third job. I mean, you're never gonna get them to be participating in government if all you do is have them working. That's the bottom line. And I know you and I talked about how do we improve voter turnout. Well, we know we have to identify what the problems are. The problems exist because people work and they don't have time, and they're too tired to go to city council meetings, and they're too tired to go out and demonstrate or protest or question things. They're too tired because they're having to worry about their next meal, their medication, what have you. And so District 6 has the highest income per capita of the whole city.
Okay.
And District 6 plus District 7. District 7
Sure.
is Mr. Algett's district. We produce the highest amount of income. And so that means that we get taxed more.
That means you can't go out there and protest.
That means that we're very careful with who we protest with. Well, at least with some people, but not Frank Castillo, because I'm retired, but I'm still working, and I'm happily saying that. I feel that it's important because, yes, we do have many people who are very cautious about who they're going to step on their toes for. And so you're going to find out that I'm going to be representing that voice That person who's at home at the dinner table and eating with their family, and they did it because they already work a full 8 hours or many hours, and then they have to go back to work to do the second job. Those are who I want to represent. I do not want to represent too much of those people who already made it, quite frankly, that have, well, let's put it this way. There's many, and especially very much proud families who control a lot of what we do with the government. I'm going to be more specific. TERS, Tax Investment Reinvestment Zone. That is a wrong decision. It is going to be it was a wrong decision before, it's going to be a wrong decision again. We have to find a way to rescind that. We're going to have to find a way to get that out of that, because it's going to cost us $35 million in taxes. That's not going to go to the city coffers. Yeah, we're going to see it in form.
Sure.
It's going to go into the books, but then going to turn right around and give it back. And that, to me, I don't want that for my community. I'm sorry, I don't want that. I'm going to have to renegotiate that. I know the city's already approved it, but if there's a way, Frank Castillo's hopefully going to be the one proposing that, because I don't believe that's fair. Because quite frankly, if you and I have a home in our residence in District 6, and I tell you, you know what, I want to build an addition here in my property, but whatever I pay in the taxes for that amount, I want you to return it back to me. And that way I can be safeguard on my investment. And so that is exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened, that you're not even taking a risk. I'm not taking a risk, because guess what? The taxpayer's going to bail me out. And I'm going to agree with you that I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. But you know what? The funny thing about business, as we perhaps know or don't know, I can always file for bankruptcy. And there goes that $35 million. Where is it going to? What's it happening? Where are the rest of the candidates talking about that? The rest of the candidates that you've had here, the other candidates that go to other radio talk shows, why are they not discussing it? All they say is that I'm pro-business. Well, talk to me about what do you mean by that? Elaborate. Talk to me. Show me what are you saying that I'm pro-business? Think about that.
No, I already thought about it. Here's one thing. Here's one thing that I'm gonna say.
Yes.
And I don't have no contentions. I don't have no thoughts of ever running for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not, and I rather help the community with what I can, when I can, and as often as I can.
Yes.
And as freely as I can. But if you had me going up there, I can never say I'm not going to represent. I don't want these people to this group, because then that means that we're segregating ourselves. And on the contrary, when you go in there, you represent the whole entity of Laredo, whether the person has money or doesn't have money, has an education or doesn't have an education, that is old, young, or in between. We have to represent everybody equally, whether they're Republicans, Democrats, communists, socialists, whatever they are, we have to represent them. And that's what we need more of. And we need to understand that businesses, some people have made money. Some people have made money because way back when their parents and their great-grandparents busted their asses. Some of them made money the conventional way, and some of them made money the unconventional way,
Unconventional.
Okay? Regardless of how they made money, they pass it on to somebody else. We cannot say, you know what, I don't like you because you came from money. We don't like you because you know what, you busted your ass and you became a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, an entrepreneur that's making it. We cannot go with that.
One person, one vote. That's how I see things.
You understand what I'm saying?
One person, one vote, Paul. The thing is that we have allowed the money interest to come in.
Of
and
course.
that person, instead of saying, hey, let me think about everybody, they're saying, let me look and see what's in for me. That's what I
understand.
I bring that point up.
I understand the frustration that you're saying, but those issues occur when you have people with no huevos and no balls that are in there. So this is what I say in November. Vote for the alpha and not the beta. And I say that openly. Why? A long time ago, I realized this, and I'm going to bring it up. I ended up protecting a kid that I thought they were basically bullying him in school. I ended up getting in a fight with that guy and his brother and his cousin, and that fight went on for a whole year, my 11th grade year. Then I see that kid that I had protected in the beginning was with them. So there's a difference between a person that is weak and there's a difference between a person that is a wimp. Totally two different things. A weak person is mandated by God for us to protect the weak and children and orphans and women. Okay? But it doesn't say about wimp. A wimp can be 6'4", but will cry. Understand? And those are the dangerous individuals. And that's what we have gotten a lot of people inside, and they're sitting down in there, and they get in there, and all of a sudden somebody comes over and they say, you know what, there's something over here, you know what? You want to go to Las Vegas? We need this new contract to pass on. You want Las Vegas? You want to go over here? You want to fly over here? You know that mink coat for your wife? Or you know that mink coat for that young girl that you have in that condominium somewhere else? And that's how they're getting locked up. That corruption needs to stop. But that corruption, people voice it by not voting. And people need to go out there and say, what? We're going to vote them out. Period. I don't care if they say, you have this song and dance, let's vote out all Republicans, let's vote out all Democrats. Vote out the ones that are corrupt and set term limits throughout the whole entity.
We need candidates and we need councilmen with backbone. That's exactly what you're saying. And I think you're right, absolutely right, because that is a representative form of government. We represent everybody. We want to bring these people to the table and tell them, hey, you cannot do things that will affect a whole segment of our population and not know that you're benefiting from it. We just need to bring people to the table and say that. And start from there. If you want to use the old cliche, start from square one.
Sure.
What is it? I mean, we have a veterans group out there who needs property and they need land. I mean, put two and two together, you could do some wonderful things if you're going to be doing tax tourist breaks and things like that.
But there-
there's some things there that could be done. And it is true, people deserve what they have, and many people are honorable. But I feel I'm honorable too. Mm-hmm. I feel I'm as honorable as the next person because my ideas are being voiced. And one thing about speaking out is, again, you become the target. You become the target. And so I'm not afraid to go to any program, talk to anybody, and that's what we need of. And that's one thing that Frank Castillo is not going to ever accept is the fact that I am going to go ahead and be given so much amount of contribution or what have you. It's just not in my blood. It's not in my blood. I'm sorry.
You want to put everything on a fair line. Some cities, some municipalities have a cap. You're
Yes.
going to run for city councils. You know what? You can only make 50,000, and your contributions apart from that, this is what's recorded. That's the only thing you can take into the table. And I think we have to start with that. Because I do not see, how much does a city council get paid?
Right now, I believe it's 45,000 to 50,000 for new members coming in
Per year.
per year. Yes.
So, okay, at one time it was 12.
At one time, it was almost zero. I imagine, yeah.
So I remember at 12, and I said a couple of these guys were in there, and they were spending $150,000 for getting paid $12,000. That means in 4 years you made what? 48,000.
48,000.
So you spend $150,000 for 40,000. It doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't.
In business sense, you don't have it because it doesn't add up. So what's going on? How are you getting compensated to make up the 150,000?
Paul, let me tell you,
You know what I'm saying?
The story. Let me tell you my story and our story of our movement to go ahead and have clean and open government. 2 years ago, I challenged and I ran for school board.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I spent $1,000 in that campaign. Most of it from friends and family, and the other half from my own personal purse, my own personal wallet. What I noticed, though, is when you see the end of the report, financial report, campaign reports, $70,000 invested in a campaign a $50,000 investment that doesn't pay.
That's what I'm telling you. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. And so people need to read between the lines. That's why I'm challenging all the candidates. Come in here and talk to Paul and tell him about what you want to do. What is in your agenda? What is your platform? Talk to us so we know that what we're doing. I'm not here hiding behind anything. I'm
No,
hoping to be.
and none of them have. Some of them have said what they're looking for, and some of them have. Each one of them has talked about their experiences of what they have and what they can bring to the table. Now,
You run a very good program. Let me
Thank
be
you.
very clear.
Thank
And
you.
you know, I appreciate what you're doing to bring the information out to the public and to your listeners. I have no questions about that. But these are the challenging questions. These are the challenging questions for somebody like me. Let's say if I had not been a candidate and I was going to listen to what the candidates were talking about, that's what I would be looking for. And yes, I do have my master's, and yes, I feel that I'm semi-educated enough to learn and understand the differences. And yes, I've worked at TAMIU, and yes, I work with the city, and now I'm working with juvenile justice with Webb County. I have a variety of experience that I can bring to the table. And that's what I'm banking, that people will understand, that you're going to get a fair man and an honest man to represent you. And I'm going to need better people than me to help me. Because if I know it all, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a person who knows it all. But I understand government, and I understand what we need to do, Paul.
no, it's very well put. What are you going to do towards the small business sector here that we have? How are you going to help them when you're in there?
Well, you know, without me giving you the old cliche about taxes, it's a big problem, what have you. Taxes are inevitable for government to exist. Government, taxes are the lifeblood of government. So you're going to have to temper that with the idea that we need to get taxes fair. Everybody should pay their fair share. Because not only you get federal tax for your employees, you have to pay state tax, and then there's city tax, what have you. And so no one entity is controlling it. And right now, I just finished going to the Webb County Appraisal District. I did protest myself. I did a protest on our property, and I was able to convince them that in fact it was an unjust tax. And so I invite everybody, if they haven't done that, I believe it's already too late for this past year. But I mean, I was very pleasantly surprised, and maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but I found the people who were present very informed, volunteering their time, and I thought that was a very good experience for me and my family to go before the appraisal. So when it comes to what small business does, of course I want them to succeed. In fact, I encourage small business owners to produce the services, to provide good services, because I mean, not only do they get the bad name sometimes because of the corporate businesses when you don't get sufficient, services, or somebody has a complaint. So they understand when you don't provide a service, what you're going to get. You're going to get a bad reputation. And so for us, when it comes to that, and again, with our participatory council for businesses, I'm going to invite small businesses to come in and tell us what we need to do to improve our area, to stimulate more economy. But the bottom line to this, if you pay workers well, they'll go and be able to afford your business.
Sure.
You pay workers well. That's where it starts. And that's why I had mentioned before that when we're at the import-export business, they're good. But you know what? Start paying a fair share of whatever you're doing. Make sure you bring that minimum salary up to $15 an hour. Make sure you have some health coverage. Make sure people are able to afford their home so they don't have to have 2 or 3 different jobs just to make ends meet. So small business is part of it. It's a dynamic group. Our area is growing, and I see the development in McPherson, and I think it's going to be very good for somebody to invest. And I hope that we're able to promote small businesses in our community and
Small businesses
in our
are the
district.
lifeline. It's our lifeline, as per se. You know, and I say this to a lot of folks. You know, Laredo. I remember when I was growing up in Laredo, the base was closed. Everybody know, okay, Laredo's going to become a ghost town.
Yeah,
It's
right.
going to be a dust bowl and blah 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 blah. But the small businesses were kept it alive.
Yes, of course.
And then the peso devaluation and all those people, well, guess what? It was the small businesses that kept it alive. And now we're going through what we went through, where we're doing this, and now everybody's afraid with NAFTA and so on and so forth, and blah, 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 blah. Guess what? It's going to be the small businesses that are going to keep them alive. And it's going to be the small businesses that are going to get us through here. And unfortunately, yes, we have we have neighbors in the south. Okay, we have neighbors in the north, and NAFTA comes in here. And people are saying, well, it's a bad idea, it's a good idea, we need to change it. I think it has to be revamped. I think a lot of things need to be revamped. We have a lot of people that have invested, Mexican nationals that have invested into Laredo with the import-export companies. And some of them bring in 20 to 50 members, Mexican nationals, to work here under work visas. And they bring in their families and so on and so forth and all this other stuff. But and then people say, well, they spend the money. They'll spend the money in the big companies. Walmart and JCPenney, Sears.
The corporate.
They'll spend their money, yeah, theirs,
yeah.
yes. But do they actually support the small businesses? No. But they will support another Mexican national that opens up a business here, and they'll all flunk there. So there's a little,
Well,
not animosity, but that's the reality of the way the paper.
Well, look at this. At the corporate side,
Go ahead.
at the corporate level here in Laredo, they're shutting down Kmart, I believe, and they're shutting down Toys R Us.
It's shut down already.
And yeah, and so corporate is not the most. We can't rely on that. Okay, and so yes, I agree with you. Small business, but I wanted to talk a little bit about export, import, and the business trade, the international trade, and NAFTA. You know, because I was asked this question a little bit before, and you know what? It's a monster. So many things come into play with that. You know, and I don't know. I think I have a good understanding what's happened with the import export. We've lost jobs in the U.S.
Sure.
Have we lost jobs in Laredo? I don't know. We might have increased some jobs here, but does the people in Michigan and the auto factories and all this international commerce, they've lost jobs. And so who's benefit from this? Has it really been Laredo, or has it been Monterrey, the other ports, seaports? That is a very engaging question. And so what's going to be our policy as a city government? Where are we going to look at? Quite honestly, of course, you need to diversify.
Sure.
The simple answer is diversify to different areas.
And a lot of people don't agree with our president. Some people do, some people do not. But there's something that he said yesterday that was very, very understanding, especially over there with NATO.
NATO.
Was, shit, we're the ones that protect them. We feed them. We spend all their money in billions. And they haven't paid anything. And then all of a sudden they're doing all the trade and everything with Russia, the ones we're supposed to be protecting them against. So why is that even there anymore? Understand what I'm saying? In other words, I'm going to protect you
Well,
from...
if you're going to see that
You know what
side,
I-
and again, I have my own opinion on that.
You're like, wait a minute,
I don't know
you
if you
know-
want to hear my opinion on that, but
But,
quite
you know,
honestly,
and you're like, wait a
I
minute.
see some of that, of course, but
It's the same thing here.
But we have always been a world's policeman. We continue to be it, whether we like it or not, because people rushing to our borders to come into our country. And so what do? Do we really need a tax rate for the corporate so they can keep on sending their jobs elsewhere? I don't know about that one.
I think we have-
so,
I
so
believe
you
this.
got to have a balance.
We have
Paul.
to
You
keep-
have to
we
have a
have-
balance.
yeah, but
You have to have a balance here with import-export too. And I'm going to suggest something to you that I think it's important for our viewers and our listeners to be paying.
I would like to take a
attention.
consensus here. Hold on. For all the people out there,
Yeah.
how many of you guys work in a warehouse here that you are a U.S. citizen and not here on a visa, on worker visa? I would like to see that number, but nobody wants to ask that.
Okay. Well,
Understand what I'm
that's-
saying? Understand what I'm
that might
saying?
be good to
You know what I'm
ask.
saying? You know, how many really, because the jobs that they bring in a warehouse,
Well, our survey, which you and I collaborated on, or you moderated, you know that, your viewers can also participate
Sure,
in this.
sure.
So maybe we'll have this in our next segment. of
You know
our
what
next
I- you know
survey.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
Because
I
really,
think it's
it
a
is-
good question. How many people come
How
here
many-
to
and that-
Anavisa and go in and go back, right back to
or
Nuevo
stay,
Laredo?
they're still working here.
Yeah.
I mean, know what I'm saying?
And stay, and stay.
You know, that's really what's going on.
And so I'm going to be with the working class, those people who actually do work every day, go and who are actually from Laredo as well. I don't have anything against our visitors,
No,
anybody.
no.
I'm not saying that, and please, viewers, don't misinterpret me. I want more people to visit, but I'm going to suggest to you something, and I'm going to take you off your subject a little bit.
Sure.
Why are we not talking to Corpus Christi? They're creating their seaport. And our highway is still the same. Highway 59 is still, that should have already been a 4-lane highway, in my view, to go to Corpus. It should have already been, opened the doors. And that is something our city has to be promoting. Because when you see well, I don't even want to call it Rio Grande Valley because there's no valley over there. When the
Yeah,
South
the
Texas, McAllen, Harlingen, Brownsville, man, they gotten together and they're building the road all the way up to Webb County. And it's got 4 lanes. They're thinking ahead. They want to have that commerce.
You know,
And we should do the same for Corpus Christi. We need to open that avenue to go east. Go east, young man. That's where we're going to find, where we're going to have a lot of more trade.
see, I don't know,
coming in.
but when I was in high school, there used to be an old slogan: "Keep the buck in Laredo." I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, of course.
And it was all over the place. Keep the buck in
Laredo
Laredo.
used to be the friendliest town in
Okay.
Texas, too.
And I don't know about that, but
Well, no, I know, but that was back in the.
and so keep the buck in Laredo, and now everybody here, instead of shopping here, all the guys from here go and shop at
San Antonio.
Cantera, San Antonio, and so on and so forth, and blah 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 blah. Okay, they go to their doctors, and their plastic surgeons are all going over there in Monterrey. Well, how about the doctors we have here? They're not good, but they're good when a nosebleed comes out, or when they ate a little bit more of the chicharrones and they have heartburn and they think it's a heart attack and they're running to the emergency room. Then all of a sudden the doctors are good here. But then all of a sudden boop, they pop up and go to San Antonio or Monterrey or what have you. Listen, we have to take care of our workers here. All vocations, both professional and trade, and those that are from here. I'm more for somebody that's going to, let's clean up our own backyard before we start cleaning up another neighborhood. Understand what I'm saying? Let's get
You
rid of
make perfect sense. Let's do and take care of us. And I'll tell you why I wanted, and I created an initiative before the city council called the Management Fellows Program. If you ever want to go back on the history of the city council meetings, I'm there talking about the Management Fellows Program. I had support from San Antonio, from Austin, from Brownsville. These are people in the academic world who don't see barriers of government. They see the future. They say, what do we need? We need people with management degrees, masters in public administration specifically, to come into city government because we need forward-looking people. We need people with a vision to look and see where are we going, where are we going to extend ourselves, and then establish those goals and objectives to create a better world, a better life for us here in Laredo. And that's what I've been doing, Paul, for the last 3 to 4 years. A lot of people talk about what they do. I haven't been thrown out of a city council meeting. I maybe ruffle some feathers, but I haven't been to the point where, my vision is not something they like. I think some of them do like to be part of that vision.
I think everybody that's running in concurrent with you, they are all good individuals
Yes,
that are going
yes,
in
of
there,
course.
that they're trying to change something that they think through their experiences, it's going to benefit Laredo.
Of course.
And unfortunately, it's a race. And right now, because of the numbers, you're going to have a runoff. It looks
It
that
looks like
way.
it, yes.
It looks that way. Unless somebody can come up with 2,000 votes, and then everybody
Yeah.
else is out. But it's not that many the person that gets 1,200 votes above more likely is going to be in the runoff. Those that get below 1,000, you're not going to be in the runoff. That's just the way it is. And because of the numbers of the people voting. But folks need to, I have not seen anybody attack anybody personally, which is good, at least not here.
No, I
Okay?
agree.
I understand some of the experiences that the people are coming in. I understand what the issues they're trying to produce because of who they are and where they're coming from, both their businesses or where they've worked before in the past. And it's a different view, okay? Now, they're all good views. They're all good, okay, points. But now what's going to be is how well are you going to be able to work with the others that are going to be on the council? Because
Exactly.
that if you have a great idea, but you have a couple of guys there that think that we should paint the streets yellow, then we're going to have our streets painted yellow. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Actually, the color is white.
you know what I'm
That's
saying?
what cities are doing.
You know what
They're
I'm saying?
painting their
But you know,
color.
I was being facetious.
I know,
But you
I
know
know,
what
I'm
I'm
just
saying.
joking with you.
But well, actually, San Antonio rainbow. But
Really?
regardless, yeah.
Oh, okay. I
But
hadn't
the
seen that one.
crosswalks. But what happens is we can't just all of a sudden because somebody gets an idea. Is it beneficial to everybody? Okay. I'll tell you, for example, I'm all for cyclist safety. I'm a safety person. We want safety. But does that mean that we're going to gut all our streets because a couple of few that were not allowed to play with bikes in the sun when they were kids, and now they're in middle-age crisis, running around on bikes, say we need bike lanes? No.
I think
Understand what I'm saying? Now, do we need it because there's cyclist safety? Yes. Understand what I'm saying? There's a big difference here.
Well, I
Understand?
appreciate, I mean, your point is well taken. And what I wanted to say about what I've done so far, I've actually had several candidates and we introduce each other.
Sure.
And
That's good.
we kind of all know we're not going to ever mention names. And I don't think I've ever mentioned names. I've mentioned ideas. I've mentioned backgrounds, things like that. But anybody takes it offensively, but that's not necessarily my problem because I'm not going to shy away either from who I am. Who I am is I'm a product of Laredo, born and reared in Laredo. I cannot shy away from that and start saying, well, that's okay. No, I'm product of Laredo. I grew up in Laredo. I know when other people, and again, other people talk about what happens in Laredo, well, I experienced it. And so I have that drive not to let it happen to our children. Ladies and gentlemen, think about our legacy. Think about what you're leaving behind. It might not be what you envision, but you think about the legacy and what are you doing. And in your program, you have been very cordial, like I mentioned earlier, and I think it speaks volumes of who you are as an individual because I want to encourage, again, taking the time from your program to tell everybody, well, come here and speak about the things that drives you. And one mention that I want to say, one thing I want to mention rather, is I want people to take a look at the city council sitting when they're deliberating there and have a vision of who you want representing District 6. Who do you want there being your spokesman? I want you to look at them from head to toe, if you will, and say, are this the person I want explaining things for us, guiding us, leading us? Because that's what they are. They're leaders. And they have to be accountable for that. And so when you see that District 6 councilman have the vision in your mind, who is it that I want there? Who do you want representing me? And that's what I'm going to leave you with that thought.
That's good. And now, how do we hold them accountable?
The only way is to election box. The election box, and of course to become participatory. Like I want to engage with those town hall meetings, with those council meetings, participatory council meetings. Not to be confused with city council. I'm talking about participatory council in District 6. That's how you hold them accountable. Because I am not going to be carrying a very skin that it gets offended very much. In fact, I think all discussions are learning opportunities. To me, that's what it is. I'm learning a lot from you right now. And so it has to do with that, being objective, if not to take your best swing, if you will. And that's why we were talking about even before the program. I said, well, okay, well, challenge if you have a question,
And
And callers should also call in if they have a
if they
question.
have a question. The number will be popped up in a bit.
Okay.
Folks, if you guys got a question, call in. We'll be right here. We'll answer them. And I think Laredo can. It's already known in the map, okay? But I think Laredo can be a force on the map. And I think we need people that are going to go in there that are actually striving to bring something of value to Laredo. We need jobs. This, you got stuff like this sister city stuff that comes in there, which is basically a waste of time, okay? People come in here and sell their products. And people from Laredo are the ones that go in there, and then they'll tell you, people came from, okay, whatever. I don't see why we have to go out to get another city somewhere in Venezuela that's a sister city of us, and somewhere in Peru, and a little bitty town that's a sister city for us. Well, we cannot even produce what we have here. Understand? We have so many venues. We have a arena. We have tecolotes now. We have the outlets. We have everybody else. How much discretionary fund or disclosure funds do we actually have to use? And that's what I was talking to a candidate about. How much does a family have? You know what? A lot of folks are on budgets. They can't spend that much. You want to go to a concert, you have to take what are they bringing to the table? They are stealing the same money from everybody. Are they really going to bring somebody from the convention? Who are they going to bring? Who? What? Okay? Are they going to bring who? Okay? We have an excellent fireman's training program. I mean, they should be flying people in from Korea, from all over the place. That's what they should be motivating. They should be motivating okay, we have an arena. Yeah, but they bring in stuff in here. Are they bringing in people from out of town? They're bringing in entertainers from out of town, but the people are still the same ones here. The same ones that go see the tecos. The same ones that go shopping at the mall and the outlets. Their money is running thin, so people are not spending as much. And that's why you see a lot of venues. Now we have the county. They want to make a bigger live downs. Fine, we understand all that, but we're running ourselves thin.
You're posing a lot of good points. I've seen a lot of questions inherent in what you're telling me. Why we don't do this, why don't we do that? There's some things, obviously, that I had not even considered, quite honestly, but a shout out to all the firemen. Some of them are friends of mine, just like the Laredo Police. If they know me from the parole office here in Laredo. And so I've got to meet a lot of good people. They're working class, just
Sure.
like me. The working class, we go work every day, come back, and our hours are odd, and sometimes we can't be out for weddings or quinceañeras or birthdays because we're working. And so unfortunately for me, my schedule is a little bit more routine, 8 to 5, 8 to 6:30, whatever. But some of these gentlemen, officers, police, and firemen, their hours are not as standard as we are. So I understand that their families sometimes get hurt in the sense because they're not there, they're working. But your points are well taken. I mean, I had not considered everything you were saying, but I'll tell you what, it's been over 3-4 years since I was at the LEA the last time. I don't know if there's anything for me there.
I went over there to the Comic-Con because we support them.
Uh-huh.
And we support our thing in there. We haven't gotten a client from them, but it's fun to see, fun for the kids to watch, fun to us to get out there. People come out and say hi to the boats.
Well, actually, you know what, I'm
So-
going to tell you, I did go to the boxing,
Sure.
the most recent one. I
Sure.
thought it was a very good
Sure.
opportunity to go there.
People were going to go to the boxing, but really, what is happening there? I mean, Tecolotes is coming in. I'm not a baseball fan, but every time I see a picture of the thing, it's half empty. Understand what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
You see the boxing, it was half empty.
I really enjoyed the
A little bit
lemurs.
more than half
I
of it,
really
you
enjoyed
know?
the lemurs, and
So-
I'm a baseball fan. I played baseball back in Martin High School, and so that's where I grew up with playing baseball. I went out to the major leagues cities that to watch baseball, not to play, but I went to Detroit Stadium, Houston, Minneapolis, Chicago, San Francisco. I saw those venues, and there's a lot of people. But you know what? Bottom line to it is because people can afford it, and you have to raise those salaries. You have to maintain it because you can bring as many other businesses to come to Laredo, but if people can't afford it to go shop there, they're not going to do it. You have to have good salaries. You have to have good neighbors, good neighborhoods in Laredo. We need to look at our infrastructure. Right now with our city, our streets are getting deteriorated as we speak,
Yeah,
and
of
there's
course.
no monies or funds have been dedicated to the city streets. That's the challenge District 6 councilman's gonna come into. They're gonna have to
mean-
figure out what to do.
And I don't, you got some that are in there trying to, it's kind of like, there's a lot of little problems everywhere, okay? And the main thing that I say this is to eliminate all these little de facto mob bosses that we have in these
I know you
departments.
use that term a lot. I wanna pick your brain on that. I mean,
Okay,
the-
because you know the patron system? Everybody
yes,
said-
of course,
Okay.
of course.
Well, that's what happened with these little departments. They go in there and they'll put this and they'll go this and they'll put, you know what? It was a city manager that told us to do this. It was councilman so-and-so. And then you talk to them, they don't know what you're talking about. So they're like their own little bosses. They threaten people. They'll break contracts. They'll do this. They'll do whatever. And they
I'll
just
tell you
run
what,
into it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I know the answer to it, and I know how to resolve that problem.
I
You
know.
get better educated people. You have to have people who are secure in their academic achievements and are able to eloquently express themselves in the departments.
The
And
major-
that's how you do it. And that's how you control the city council, because the city council shouldn't be butting their nose into the daily operations. That's a no-no. And why? And I think right now, the Ethics Commission postponed yesterday's meeting, and you can imagine, well, what happened there.
Let me tell you something now. Apparently there's a hiring freeze in Laredo, right?
I
Apparently.
believe there was already for the
Okay.
last 2 years.
Right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they hired so-and-so's parents to work in the parks because of a favor to a councilman in there. Understand?
Wow.
Okay? So they took people that were good for that job. And they said, you're overqualified, but guess what? This person over here has been doing a little bit of favors for this one councilman, so we have to push him forward. And that right there is the problem. People say, the majority of these department heads, and I say, they will get fired from a restaurant because they do not have the common sense to wait on tables, okay? And they couldn't even be a busboy in the restaurant because they do not have the common sense nor the experience to lead correctly, okay?
Sure.
People would not hire them. They would have already been
Well,
fired.
you're expressing the frustration that I get from a lot of people, Paul.
And that's
You're
not just
the
with
only
me.
one.
I'm telling you.
That's what I'm
as
saying.
In general,
It's not you.
this is the voice.
No,
and
no.
So this is the problem that we have.
And once we hear it and become aware, I say, wow, okay, yes, we know this exists in city government, in county government, perhaps at the state level and central administration government.
So you have a lot of folks that are working there. I get people that call me all the time. Gee, well, Paul, this is going on over here. This is going. How can I get this? We have to bring out ideas, like you said.
The
Protect
Office
them.
of Public Integrity.
Bring them out there and say, you know what? You have to complain. Put it up there. We have to make sure that these people are being protected.
Yes,
Because these people can just be fired because they talked to the wrong person.
I think so too. Yes,
Okay.
it's very
And
very
that's-
difficult
and it's-
situation
and
to be
it's-
in.
Or we have to have a revolving, I've talked to city council and they said, you know, Paul, you're right. There has to be some kind of revolving, you're director for these 2 years. It's
A
been
lot of
somebody
these
else in.
employees don't know what I mentioned to you earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the Texas Whistleblower Act, that you have protection on that. Whenever you're going to complain and say, hey, I see this wrong, I'm bringing it up to your attention, and you know what, I am going ahead and filing under Texas Whistleblower Act. I don't don't retaliate here, because then you're facing criminal violations.
So here's what I'm gonna come in forth with. You, what do you have? One last thing to bring to the table for people to look at you and say, Frank Castillo is my choice.
What do I have that brings people to vote for me, right? And somebody that perhaps separates me from the rest. Ladies and gentlemen, it is if I were to point one of the many things that I think it's regarding my values and my leadership qualities, I remember that precedent, walk softly but carry a big stick. That's one of the things that I will say, and I will end with my education. My academic education is a master's in public administration. That is where my expertise lies. I will bring that to use to lead District 6 and our campaign, because it's not me. It's never been about me. It's all about us. And what we bring to the table is my academic education and my master's in public administration and my tenure as an administrator with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, that I know enough about the rule of order and order of law to make an impact to help our community.
Good. And folks out there, you guys are listening. I just brainstormed something in here that we're gonna do, and we're gonna take that phrase that I used, this November, vote the alpha, not the beta, and we're gonna make a shirt out of it with gloves off in the back, and the money that we get, I'm gonna end up talking to a couple of people out there that are doing this. The money that we sell these shirts for is gonna be used to help some youth here in Laredo. How about that? Huh? Until
good.
next time, you guys have a good weekend. Be safe. See you later.